Here's another book that I wanted to share with you. This is about um, an American woman. Her name was Patience Wright, and she was America's first sculptor and revolutionary spy, and which is a very different combination, which is kind of why I like this book, because it is another reason for girls to read this, because it doesn't have the stereotypical, housewife and nurse, or like all those kind of jobs that a woman is supposed to have, or that would stereotypically be categorized into a woman's job. And so I like the fact that she was a sculptor and she was a spy at the same time. So it's kind of interesting and would grasp a child's interest at the same time. So I think this would be a good book to use in the classroom, as well as at home, just to read to your daughters and your children, boys too. So this book is about Patience, obviously, and what she sculpted were wax figurines, actually, and her sister had a business, and so she would sculpt wax figurines of like famous politicians in America, and that were big during the revolutionary times, and like famous people such as Benjamin Franklin. And so she would have them come in and they would pose for her, and so she would start sculpting their figure, and she would start talking to them about their politics and what they're doing, and kind of like getting inside information about what is going on, without them actually like realizing that she is spying and trying to get all this information and intake to help people in America. So she starts actually sculpting in America, and then she decides to go to England and start a business over there. So what she would do, she would find a way to send her secrets to America. Here's another picture of the wax sculptures that she would make. What she would do is she would find secret ways to send her messages to America from England, because you couldn't just send it through the mail, and you couldn't just write a letter, and because they would check that. They would check all the mail and all the parchment that was from an American that was going from England to the Americas. And what I like most about Patience is that she was very independent. In the beginning, it just kind of tells her story as well, is that instead of marrying like every other girl in her teens during this era in the 1700s, she did not marry, and she waited until she was about in her later 20s to marry and have children. And then after she had children, her husband passed away because he was a little bit older, and she ended up independently taking care of all her children. So she took the role as head of household, which not a lot of women do. So being a single mom, she fought for ways to support her children, and she had a love of art, so she knew that she could take that and she could make a living for her children and support them, which gives young girls the impression that you don't need to be a man to support your family, and that the traditional roles aren't always gender specific. A woman could lead a household, or a man could be the one that wasn't working and staying home with the children. And so I really like this book, and it has a really strong, independent woman who is very smart, and she's very cunning, and so she has very ambitious plans to help save her home, and she finds ways, which you would have to read the book to figure out how she does this. to send messages that helped the colonists in America win the Revolution. I would use this book because there is quite a bit of vocabulary and there's quite a bit of text on each page. The text can get quite lengthy, and so I would use this probably for maybe upper elementary levels, maybe 3rd through 5th grade, depending on what level your readers are at. But this is definitely a good way to support women through culture or through literature and embrace the feminine culture. And there's just so many possibilities you could do with this book. You could have, writer's workshop where the girls are reflecting and writing about what they want to be when they grow up, or what they would do if they were Patience, or writing a letter to Patience about how they admire her independence, or just coming up with different ways of how to embrace the story of Patience Wright within a classroom. I think this would be a really good, essential piece of literature to have. So this is nonfiction, and it's a biography about Patience Wright, and it is by, Pegi, Shea, and illustrated by Beth Ann Anderson. So if you have a chance to check this book out, you should really read it. There are some really interesting facts about Patience in this text, and that really shocked me, and I think it would leave your readers very shocked as well. So check it out.